So in the last class, we were discussing about specimen collection, how different specimens are collected, specimens of body fluid are collected. Now, before we get into the specific type of specimen, whenever you're collecting a fluid sample, so there are a few rules that need to be kept in mind. Okay, you might need to give some pre-medication. Okay, especially when you're collecting a fluid sample of blood or some other fluid, except urine. In that condition you will have to give something so that shock does not occur. Okay, once you perform the tap, let's suppose आप CSF withdraw कर रहे हैं या blood withdraw कर रहे हैं, just so that the patient does not have a shock, does not suffer from shock, you will need to give some appropriate pre-medication. Okay, you need to use obviously sterile medicine, sterile syringe and sterile needles, okay, of appropriate capacity, and make sure that you are following a proper aseptic conditions. Now, guidelines for fluid collection. Uh, if fluid sample is collected, give a pre-medication to avoid shock. ठीक है? Then follow aseptic conditions and use sterilized. 1 second. Yeah, used sterilized needles and syringe. Okay. Other than that, whenever you are performing an aspiration, whenever you're performing any of these fluid collection tests, make sure that the fluid is freely flowing, easily flowing, so that you can get it done very quickly. Okay. As such, अगर आप for example CSF collect कर रहे हैं, in that condition it is variable. If you want to increase the speed, the patient might have a little bit of discomfort later on, depending on the gauge of needle that you are using. Yesterday I explained, अगर आप lumbar puncture कर रहे हैं, ज़्यादा मोटी needle use करें, तो the patient will have headache later, severe headache later, and things like that. But the procedure will be over quickly. If you are using a thinner needle, the patient will not feel as uncomfortable, and there is a lesser chance that they will have any severe headache, but it will take a little bit more time. Okay, the patient might have to stay in that position for a longer period of time. Now, as such, the collection of this fluid will be done in clean tubes, clean, clear tubes. Okay, um, collection of fluid is done in clean, clear, and labeled tubes. Okay. The details of the patient should be mentioned on the tube, along with what you are doing with that particular sample. किस चीज़ के लिए है ये sample? ठीक है, what sample it is and for what purpose you are taking that sample. Sometimes what you do is, in those tubes you will already add EDTA or heparin. This is so that clot formation does not occur, especially if you are withdrawing blood sample. वहां पर आप जब ट्यूब में ट्रांसफर करते हो, in that case you will have a container, or you will have a tube which already contains EDTA, or it will contain any other anticoagulating agent like heparin, so that coagulation or clot formation does not occur. Okay, if you later on want to perform microscopic examination on it, you will make sure that some kind of anticoagulant is present in that. uh, Also make sure that those containers are sterile. Okay. Generally what happens is, when you're collecting fluid, you can collect it in 3 different sterile containers. One which contains an anticoagulant, okay, for cytology, okay, then the other two for other examinations. As such, 20 ml of fluid, most fluids will be more than enough for most of the examinations. अगर आप specific gravity test कर रहे हैं, then in that case you need 30 ml of fluid. Okay, specific gravity check करने के लिए slightly higher amounts of fluid की जरूरत पड़ती. Okay. Now coming to first of all, collection of sputum. Sputum जो है, you have to tell the patient that uh, the the spit or the nasopharyngeal discharge that comes out early in the morning, that is not sputum. Okay, because some patients, what they do is, if you tell them to go get a sample, they will just spit saliva in it and tell that is sputum. Okay, so that is not exactly sputum. Sputum will be your discharge from your lungs. Okay, after productive cough, what comes out, that is sputum. Okay, a proper mucousy substance. Now, whenever you are collecting mucus, make sure that you're collecting it in a sterilized container which is clearly labeled. Okay, and make sure that you are handling it carefully so that infection does not spread. And if there is infection that does not spread and it is not getting contaminated with other agents, ठीक है, agents that are present in the surrounding, उससे contaminate नहीं हो रहा वो. All right. If you're not able to take it immediately to the laboratory for what do you call testing, then you can freeze the sputum for a little while. Okay, you can refrigerate it so that you can use it for a later time. It's not a big problem. Now, generally, what you do is, when you take sputum test or you take a sputum sample, you will take three different samples. One sample you will take on the spot. Second sample you will take early morning, in the sense that you will ask the patient to cough in that particular container which you are giving early in the morning. Okay, this is because what happens is, bacteria tend to get overloaded overnight. Okay, during the whole night, bacteria tend to get overloaded in sputum, and once you are coughing or testing that particular sputum, you'll be able to find out which bacteria is there quickly. Okay, third sample will again be on spot. So let's suppose a patient comes to you today. I want to get, or they have been ordered to get a sputum exam done. You will ask them to give a sample immediately. Then you'll give them a container telling them to get one sample early in the morning once they wake up. Then later on, when they come to deposit this particular sample which they have collected, at that time you'll collect another sample. So three total samples. Then we have collection of gastric contents. Now, gastric content collection, yeah, gastric content removal is mainly done by a long tube, thin long tube called Ryle's tube. ठीक है, polyethylene tube भी use कर रहे हैं आजकल, basically to aspirate your gastric contents. That gastric juice जो collect करते हैं, you will also do it in gastroscopy or endoscopy. So once you've collected the fluid, then you can send it to the lab for further examination of pH and normal constituents and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is about a specimen collection of different body fluids, and we have completed the fourth unit, which is examination of body cavity fluids and transudates and exudates. Now we'll get into a topic where, which is urine and feces. A lot of it is basic. But a lot of tests, biochemical tests are present. That's it. It's not exactly a very complex chapter. You will get it very easily. Now, coming to urine. You already know urine is something that is, that is responsible for excretion in your body. Okay, for throwing out metabolic waste products and any waste product that is formed in your body, it will work in conjunction with skin, with lungs and intestines, which are in turn all excretory organs in their own right. Okay, normally you have about 700 to 250 to 2.5 ml, 2.5 liters of urine being excreted. A normal individual, depending on their physiology, depending on the climate they are living in, depending on their age, gender, several factors, a normal output of a person will be around 700 ml to 2500 ml. Varies a lot, averaging around 1200. Okay, now there are several factors. कितना पानी पी रहे हैं, या फिर what sort of food you are consuming, ठीक है, or how much fluid is lost through sweating, and how much fluid is lost through breathing. That is also plays a role in the total amount of urine being lost. Certain medications will also play a role in the amount of urine being excreted. For example, let's suppose the patient is on diuretics. In that condition, as well, if the patient is on diuretics, in that case as well, the patient will, what do you call, excreting larger amounts of urine. All right. Now, coming to urinary system, the main function of urinary system will be to, what do you call, remove waste product, which is urea, with urea which is in our blood. To remove that, you mainly have urinary system. And once urea starts getting accumulated in your blood, it can lead to a lot of problems, uremia, then finally azotemia, and so on and so forth. We studied about it in glomerular nephritis. Now, as such, the main purpose of formation of urine will be to remove urea. अब आपके kidneys जो है, they will, you know, they will have glomeruli and nephron from which filtration is occurring, and urine is coming down into your ureters. Ureters are around 8 to 10 inches long, and once they come down, they start collecting into your urinary bladder. ठीक है? Once you have enough amount of vertical urinary bladder में आप collection start होने लगता. 1 second guys, 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. So anyway, as I was telling you, once enough amount of urine start collecting into your bladder, generally what happens is, in a healthy individual, the bladder of a healthy individual is able to uh, hold up to 2 cups, roughly around almost around half a liter. Okay? You'll be able to comfortably hold around half a liter for maybe 2 to 5 hours. Okay, and as collection of urine starts vertical increasing in the bladder, you will have neurological intervention where your bladder is sending a message to your brain telling that, see, the bladder is full, you need to void. Okay, at one point, once it reaches its limit, there will be a strong urge for urgency for voiding. Once you have voided, again your what do you call, sphincter muscles will loosen, and the bladder muscles will contract, and it will make sure that any more urine is not coming out. Now, as such, one of the most important parts about urine is GFR, especially with respect to diseases, glomerular filtration rate. Now, glomerular filtration rate का जो test रहता, that is done for diagnosis. You can also do it for assistance in diagnosing, to uh, check for other conditions. Mainly, GFR जो है, उसका formula जो रहता, it is urine concentration into urine flow divided by plasma concentration. This is of any particular substance. For example, if I अब GFR का specific terminology में अगर आप कहें, तो it will be the volume of fluid filtered from your renal glomerular capillaries into Bowman's capsule per unit time. You can also put it in another way where you are calculating any particular chemical which is neither being reabsorbed nor being secreted by your kidneys. Okay? It has a steady level in your blood, and it is being freely filtered out of your kidney, and you are trying to measure the rate at which that particular chemical is getting filtered out of your kidney, okay, or filtered out of your body. That will also give you GFR. GFR is basically telling you how much amount of, or what is the rate of filtration of blood through your kidneys or through your nephron. Okay, you can measure it through with respect of a chemical as well. If you take any specific chemical, आप वो chemical की यूरिन concentration, फॉर एग्जांपल यूरिया लिया, आप यूरिया के रिस्पेक्ट से बात कर रहे हैं, यूरिया concentration in urine, total amount of urine flow से multiply करके, then you are comparing that with urea concentration in plasma. ठीक है, that is one particular constituent. You can take any other constituent, but what you are doing is you are checking how much amount of urea is being filtered out of your urine. That will also give you the rate at which filtration of blood is occurring. Okay, now why is GFR important? अगर GFR कम रहा, normally GFR is given in terms of ml per minute. ठीक है, a normal person will have a GFR which is more than 90 to roughly around 120. ठीक है, 90 to 120 ml per minute. Now, depending on the GFR, acute renal failure के stages are defined. If the patient is stage 1, yeah, CKD के भी stages are defined by that. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. ठीक है, depending on how much less GFR is, or how much lower GFR is, they will be into a more deeper state of into a more deeper state of kidney failure, ठीक है, or renal failure. अब आप जब यूरिन को चेक करते हैं, there are a few characteristics that you will check for in urine. Okay, first of all, you will check for physical characteristics. फिजिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आता वॉल्यूम, ठीक है। Whenever you are checking, see, you'll check for volume, you'll check for color, you'll check for odor, and you'll check for specific gravity and its reaction to pH or things like that, ठीक है। uh, if we specifically talk about volume, I told you that 700 to 25 ml, 2500 ml of urine is voided in around 24 hours, ठीक है, depending on the patient's physiology, depending on what they are consuming, depending on where they are living, this will change, ठीक है। now volume में abnormalities कैसे आते, one example is nocturia, ठीक है। so abnormalities in this thing will be, first of all, nocturia. Nocturia is when urine is passed in the night and it is in excess of 500 ml. Okay? If you're waking up once in the night and going to void your what do you call bladder, it is not a problem. That is fine. But if a person is waking up again and again in the middle of the night, disturbing their sleep and getting up to void their urine, that is called nocturia. Okay? To an extent where the patient is urinating almost excessive of 500 ml in the night, okay, during night, that will generally indicate that the patient is having early signs of renal failure, okay. Nocturia is an early sign of renal failure if someone is voiding more than 500 ml of urine in night. Then another problem that you can assess through volume is polyuria. Polyuria. Polyuria is when a patient is excreting urine in excess of 200 to 2500 ml, meaning they are excreting urine more than 2.5 liters in a day. This is considering that, see, polyuria can also be in a condition where someone is drinking way too much amount of water. वो condition में भी polyuria हो सकता, या फिर it can be seasonal, in the sense winters में urine excretion generally increases. Sometimes it can be pathological as well, specifically diabetes, both diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus, दोनों में polyuria होने का बहुत अच्छा chance है, okay, common in diabetes. Then you have oliguria. Oliguria is when the patient is excreting less than 500 ml per day, ठीक है, 500 ml in 24 hours specifically, that is oliguria. Now this can be due to less amount of water intake, or it can be due to renal ischemia. If we talk about pathology, it will be ischemia, या फिर the patient is having dehydration. In that condition as well, the patient might be suffering from oliguria. Then lastly we have anuria. Now, anuria is a condition where the patient is, uh, there is almost significant suppression of urine excretion. ठीक है, oliguria में आप less than 500 ml per day excrete कर रहे थे ना, anuria में there will be almost no urine being excreted by the patient. This specifically happens in pathological conditions. For example, if the patient has renal stones, ठीक है, or the patient is having tumor, renal tumors, or the patient has renal ischemia. Renal ischemia हुआ तो kidneys are severely getting damaged, because of which they will stop filtering blood out and they will stop making any amount of urine, because of which also anuria can occur. Okay, so these are some characteristics that you can, these are some things that you can deduce from volume. Depending on how much amount of volume of urine is being found, you can detect some of these problems. Then the other physical characteristic they will check for is color. Okay, normally normal color should be, it should be clear, okay, clear, slightly pale or straw colored. Okay, not completely clear I would say, but straw colored or slightly pale, okay, because of urobilinogen. Now agar, let's suppose आप completely colorless urine है, that will occur in diabetes. It will also occur if the patient is uh, drinking a lot of water. Generally what happens is, if someone is increasing, is suffering from polyuria, they have more and more amount of dilution of this pigment which is present in your urine, because of which आपकी urine will start looking more and more clear. Now that can occur polyuria due to excessive drinking of water, or it can occur due to diabetes as well. So first of all, it will be colorless. in diabetes, both insipidus and mellitus, and excessive water intake. Okay, then it will be deep amber color, almost think of it like a mix of yellow and dark orange. Okay, deep amber color. This will be in if the patient has a good muscular exercise. Okay, if the patient is performing rigorous exercise that day, or it can be in high grade fever, okay, indicative of infection, or it can be orange color. Orange color will occur when there is increased urobilinogen. It is also increased when concentrated urine is being excreted. ठीक है, you will see orange colored urine generally in oliguria. ठीक है, oliguria या फिर if someone is not drinking enough amount of water, normally a healthy individual should at least drink 3 liters of water in a day, 2 to 3 liters of water in a day. If someone is drinking less than 1 liter in a day, that is when urine will get concentrated, and that is also when you start seeing orange colored urine. So it might not exactly be a pathological problem, it might be someone who's simply not drinking enough amount of water. That can also be the case. Then smoky urine. Smoky urine is generally indicative of blood. Small amount of blood. Small amount of blood. अगर ज़्यादा blood रहा तो red हो जाता. Okay. या फिर B12 administration. You're giving vitamin B12 supplementation. या फिर aniline dye दिए. ठीक है. वो condition में भी smoky urine will be seen. It will be red due to hematuria. ठीक है. Excessive excretion of blood in urine, or it can also be hemoglobinuria. Let's suppose the patient is having some type of anemia where red cells are being destroyed, okay, or they have some other conditions where there is excessive destruction of RBC. If there is excessive destruction of RBC, more and more amount of hemoglobin is being excreted out of urine, because of which you'll start seeing reddish colored urine. Okay, that can be one condition. It will be brown due to bile, excess bile. Okay. Uh, it can be milky if there is fat or pus. Milky if it contains fat or pus, like indicative of inflammation or simply increased amount of fat in the person. Yeah, फिर it can be green, specifically if it is putrefied. ठीक है, अगर putrefaction हो रहा, if there is almost signs of necrosis, that is when it will be green. ठीक है, it will also occur in phenol poisoning. ठीक है, if the patient is drinking phenyl or phenol, in that condition the urine will come out green. Okay, that is the second physical characteristic that you will check in urine. Then you will check for odor, smell. Now normally urine should be freshly voided urine is slightly aromatic in smell. Okay, it will be pungent if there is increased ammonia, especially due to bacterial contamination. Okay, अगर bacteria are present in the patient body, systemic infection है, या फिर the patient has, yeah, if the patient has systemic infection of any sort, in that condition, ammonia production generally increases, because of which urine becomes pungent. It will become putrid in UTI. Okay, very offensive smell. Pungent is different, putrid is different. Pungent is just smelly, in the sense that pungent is what you get when you break eggs. Okay, that is the slightly pungent smell. Or sulfur ka smell, that will be slightly pungent smell. Putrid is almost rancid. Okay, it is very horrifying smell. Then fruity. Fruity occurs in ketoacidosis, generally diabetes में होता. If the patient is having a complication of diabetes, which is DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, उनके अंदर आपकी body glucose नहीं मिल रहा बोल के cells, what they do is they start breaking down other fat and other things, and your liver will start converting fatty acids into ketones. Those ketones will cause ketonemia and ketouria, and those ketones will have a fruity smell. That fruity smell will also come from the person's breath, and the urine will also become fruity in smell. You will have a mousy smell in phenylketonuria. Okay. Now, coming to the pH part, what type of reactions do you get? Now, normally, if in a healthy person, the pH of urine will be around, average is around 6. It can range between 4.6 to 7. Okay, slightly acidic. Talk about pH. Normal pH is 4.6 to 7. Average is 6. Okay, it will be slightly acidic in normal conditions. If there is excessively acidic urine, ठीक है, it will occur in certain conditions. अगर बहुत acidic हो जा रहा, for example, if it is going up to 4 or 5, ठीक है, pH if it is going to much lower than 5, in that condition it will occur with acidic urine. ठीक है, it will occur when a patient is consuming a lot of protein, high protein intake. ठीक है, uh, uric acid formation is higher, because of which protein intake में uric acid formation generally is higher, because of which acidity increases. या फिर ingestion of acidic fruits, not citrus fruits. Okay, acidic fruits इसमें आते हैं आपका pomegranate या cranberry या फिर grapes. All of those are acidic fruits. Citrus fruits, on the other hand, once they get inside your body, they will form certain metabolites, because of which they will increase pH rather than decrease pH. Okay, they'll make the urine alkaline. Citrus fruits, they get inside your body, they get digested, and the metabolite that is formed from citrus fruits, that will make the urine alkaline rather than acidic. Then, if the patient is having respiratory or metabolic acidosis, okay, or if the patient is having UTI by E. coli, okay, in all of these conditions, the pH of urine becomes acidic. Now, you can also have alkaline urine. Alkaline urine specifically occurs due to citrus fruits, as I just told you. It can occur if the patient consumes a lot of vegetables. ठीक है, generally vegetarians and vegans की diet में the urine will be slightly more alkaline than normal people, ठीक है, than proper non-vegetarians. It can occur in respiratory or metabolic alkalosis. It can also occur if UTI is occurring due to Proteus mirabilis and Pseudomonas. ठीक है, in both of these infections, the more common type of UTI is E. coli, but it can also occur due to Klebsiella, Proteus, Pseudomonas. अगर specifically Proteus या Pseudomonas की वजह से UTI हो रहा, then urine will be alkaline. Then we have specific gravity. अब specific gravity जो है, it is basically measuring the density, relative density of urine when compared to water. Distilled water at 4 degrees centigrade, उससे आप compare कर रहे हैं. Now you use different instruments. You can use a urinometer, you can use a refractometer, you can use a reagent strip method. Either way, you are trying to find out specific gravity to find if the patient is suffering from certain problems. Now, normal specific gravity of urine is about 1.003 to 1.030. ठीक है, in comparison to water. Specific gravity or relative density will also be always be in comparison to water. Distilled water at 4 degrees centigrade. अगर low है, low specific gravity will occur in case of excessive water intake. ठीक है, this will depend on particulate matter. कितना ज्यादा particulate matter रहा, उतना ज्यादा relative density बढ़ जाती. ठीक है, अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा पानी पी रहे हैं तो पार्टिकुलेट मैटर कम हो जाता है, बिकॉज ऑफ विच स्पेसिफिक ग्रेविटी जनरली बिकम्स लेस. या डायबिटीज एज वेल, स्पेसिफिकली डायबिटीज इंसिपिडिस. ठीक है, you can have high specific gravity as well. It will be high in case of dehydration. All the conditions where urine volume is decreasing, ठीक है, या फिर the constituent in the urine is increasing. For example, albuminuria. Albuminuria. यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है? You are, it is like nephritis where increased amount of albumin is being excreted out of your urine, or it can also be glycosuria. This generally occurs in diabetes mellitus. If there is increased amount of glucose in your urine, it will start getting excreted out of your urine because it is not filtered out. Okay, it is not reabsorbed back inside. There is already so much in your blood, it will not be reabsorbed back inside, and you will start having more amount of glucose in your urine, which will increase the specific gravity of urine. Okay, we'll talk about the analysis of urine with other qualitative tests and all tomorrow. All right.